In a world where everybody except for Brandon and David have a life outside of this podcast, and the two use the opportunity to get nostalgic about video games, this is Sick and Wired.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sick and Wired podcast. Is this episode 10 already?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sweet. So episode 10, and for our 10th episode, and also just because it's kind of like we didn't have too many people kind of able to join us today, we are going to do a special podcast where we are going to talk about some favorite memories that we had from back in the earlier generations of consoles, like, you know, like the N64, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, that era. And then we're going to transition and we're going to start talking about, like, games that we're really looking forward to, you know, that are going to be coming out in the near future. But first off, the way we always like to start these podcasts is talking about what we have been playing lately. So, Brandon, who is my co-host this week, what have you been playing lately?
Get her done. I have been playing. So first of all, Tuesday this past week, the next chapter in the Spider-Man DLC came out, Turf Wars, and I powered through that, and then so I thought, you know, so far it's kind of gone down a notch each time. I thought I thought the core game was better than the first chapter of the DLC, which is to be expected for the most part. But I thought the first chapter of the DLC was better than the second chapter, so it wasn't quite as fun, and it's definitely getting more difficult. As they add new weapons and new bosses and stuff. It's when you verse. Of course, it's all about the Maggia Wars and Hammerhead's crew.
Okay.
But, so, of course, you end up versing Hammerhead at the very end, and that is just a cluster word. I mean, I really try to take care of my controllers, but, you know, sometimes if they go flying across the room, I mean, who's to say whose fault that is? Really.
My hand slipped. I don't know. It's weird. My hands are sweaty. I had no control.
It was an interesting experience, but that I will not repeat. But it's definitely getting more difficult, which I appreciate. I like that they're not just gonna stagnate it at what it left off as in the original game. But other than that, I really got down and I said, all right, I've had enough of this. I really need to get down and dirty with Red Dead Redemption 2. So I've been playing a lot of that the past few days, really trying to catch myself up because I am way behind on that. I'm still only in the later stages of chapter 2, but
you're already ahead of me. Well, I was talking to my buddy last night because I went over to their house for a bonfire, and he was like, he goes, well, have you beaten Red Dead 2 yet? And I was like, no. and I won't go into exactly what he told me, but it was some spoilery stuff, and I was like, oh, come on, man, like.
No.
I know, and I'm sitting there, and his wife was there, and she's been kind of watching him play it, and she's like, oh, did you get to this part where this happens? And I'm like, what? And she goes, I probably shouldn't have said that. And I was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have, because now I'm upset because you ruined this for me, and now, like, I don't know. But I mean, I'm still enjoying it. I just haven't had time to play it because of other things.
Yeah, I get that.
That I will get into.
But so anything else for you that you've been playing?
I have been giving all of my free time to Let's Go Pikachu.
Aha.
I So, real quick, when I heard about this game, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I saw the pictures, I was like, the Pokemon are walking around through the world, like, it's not just these random encounters, like, I can actually see what is where, so I can kind of pick and choose which Pokemon I want to go after. And I was like, you can still do gym battles, and it's just like the old versions that I grew up playing when they came out in 1999 for the Game Boy Color. Like, I loved those. I've beaten Red, Blue, and Yellow numerous times because I loved playing those games so much. And this was just a callback to those times, So it's been very nostalgic for me to play. And I mean, I've already put like 20 hours into it. I'm on my 7th badge already. I've just been absolutely thoroughly enjoying this game. And I know a lot of people's concerns with it was like, oh, there's no more like battling the wild Pokemon. Like, you just don't do that anymore. And a lot of people were kind of turned off, including myself, when I heard about that. I was like, well, how are you gonna like level up your Pokemon? Like, how does that work? And even without the battling of random Pokemon and wild Pokemon and everything, it still is done in a way that you can quickly level up your Pokemon to points. And I mean, there's even been times I've been playing it where I've struggled. Like, I've lost, matches where my dude's blacked out, or, I've come real close to losing, like, it's still challenging like it was back in the day. But for any Pokemon fans that were fans of the original series and everything, fear not, they still did a fantastic job with this game. Like, if you have $60, if you have a Nintendo Switch and you were thinking about getting this game but weren't quite sure, weren't quite sold on it, I am telling you, as a fan of the series, go ahead and get it. It is utterly fantastic. I do not regret the purchase one bit, and I will for sure be playing more of it. I'll probably by the time we record next week's episode, I will have probably beaten the Elite Four. That's how much I've been playing this. So, and that's literally all I've been playing.
It might be a little unfortunate for kind of discount gamers, because don't they have this was like. I don't want to say, I don't want to call it something it's not really, but in a way, this kind of served as like a placeholder for the next really big Pokemon game. Is that right? That's coming out next year?
Yes. So this, I think they were just kind of testing the waters. They kind of wanted to do, think of it as almost like a remaster, but in a way they kind of rebooted it as well. Because there's definitely things that, like, even having played some of the newer ones, well, I mean, newer as in, like, Gold and Silver, and even, like, Ruby and Sapphire, when they started introducing, like, different types of Pokemon, like, you had Dragon types and Dark types, and, like, they didn't have those back in the Red and Blue days, and even so far as, like, the Steel types. So there's some things that they've excluded from this new one, but the cool thing that I like about it is it does actually give nods to the Sun and Moon games, because you can actually get the Alola region Pokemon. You can't find them in the wild per se, but there are certain people in like Pokemon centers and everything that you can walk into and start talking to them, and they are willing to trade like your Kanto region Pokemon for the Alola version. And it's really cool. Like, I did one with a Diglett, so now, my Diglett went from just being this bald mole or whatever to having the little 3 hairs sitting on top of its head and everything, I was actually talking to my buddy, because he actually got the Let's Go Eevee version, which is the one where you can only get Vulpix in it. Well, he got an Alola region Vulpix that he evolved into the Alola region Ninetales, which changes its type entirely. It's no longer a fire type, it's actually an ice type. So that was really kind of neat, you know. But yeah, it's kind of like it's a little bit futuristic because it introduces the Alola stuff, you know, and there's definitely gentle nods back to the Sun and Moon games, but it's still very much like a red and blue version, you know, style games with yellow kind of mixed in, because you can go and grab some of the, like, Bulbasaur and Squirtle and Charmander. Like, you can still go and grab all these Pokemon to use throughout the game. You just have to have, like, you have to have caught, like, certain types of Pokemon. So,
Okay.
which kind of actually funnels us right into our topic of nostalgia, because this game's done it for me. So what's, like, I'm gonna kind of hit you with this first, because I know we were talking a little bit prior to this that there were some console generations that, you know, because I am probably the oldest one on that works for the site. I'm 28 years old.
Yeah, probably.
No, I am, because Devin's like, I think he just turned like 25 or something, so I've got like 3 years on him. So what is like a fond memory that you had from playing like an older game? Like, and we're kind of just gonna stick with, you know, like the oldest one that we'll go through is like probably the N64 era, because I won't even go back as far as like the NES console, because that was like, I barely remember stuff from that. But like maybe like the earliest we'll go to is like the Xbox 360 era, so like last generation. But like what's a fond gaming memory that you had?
Probably when I think of nostalgia, I think the biggest one for me is Call of Duty World at War. I played the crap out of that game, and I know there is a certain generational gap between us, but for me that would definitely be it. I have played that game for I've gotten that game on Wii. Apparently, I don't know how that happened.
Oh, wow.
But I had it for Wii. I had it for I believe I had it for my Xbox 360 at one point, and I just recently saw it in Steam, and I was like, really? All right, why not? And so I went back and I completed the game on Steam, and that's one that just doesn't get old. And you know, I was actually having an argument with a friend not too long ago who we were talking about what is the best Call of Duty game, and I said World at War hands down, and he was saying World at War sucked or whatever, and I was like, well, actually, first of all, I should clarify that World at War may not be the best one, but I actually have not played any of the Modern Warfares, which I hear are the best ones, according to a lot of sources. So I won't say that World at War is the best Call of Duty game, but it's definitely the best one that I've played. And even if you say that the Modern Warfares are above it, World at War is still pretty high up there, I think. And the thing about that game is that it did some stuff in a video game that you just usually don't see from a Call of Duty series. I'm talking about Kiefer Sutherland as now I'm gonna forget his name. Rockhopper? Was that it? Damn it,
dude, you're that's going far back for me too. And I only played it like a little bit. Like I beat the storyline, but I only did it like once, and then we just kind of went straight into the multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, I thought the multiplayer was pretty unimpressive on that game. Even back when I first played it, I was like, I just didn't enjoy the multiplayer all that much. I definitely loved that game for its story. I loved being able to play World War II from the Russian side of things too. I thought that was a really neat idea that they that they went with, because not only did you get a different side of the entire war in that kind of sense, but you also get an entirely different class of weaponry.
Oh yeah.
When you get into that, which is really cool. Which, you know, when you get down to it, especially in these Call of Duty games that kind of like simplify war in a lot of ways, it's you definitely fall into the same kind of patterns with the weapons. Like, okay, even though they have different names, kind of like, okay, it's different, but this is still going to be your assault rifle. This is going to be your pick for a good sniper rifle. This is going to be your SMG that you like to use, kind of thing. You know, you still fall into the same categories, but it's still cool to see all of the different all of those different games. And, you know, this game, if I had never played World at War, I definitely wouldn't have ever bought World War II. But World at War definitely hooked me on the idea of a good World War II storyline within a game. And then World at War and World War II just killed it as far as that went.
When I look back and I think about playing World at War, my first thing is zombies. That
I did play some zombies, yes.
That because I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, that was actually the first game that introduced zombies.
I think so, yeah.
And me and my friends, like, my buddy Ryan actually was the one that kind of brought us all into playing zombies. He's like, oh, dude, he goes, have you guys played zombies? And I was like, I don't even own this game. I don't know what you're talking about, like, but I'll play it with you. And I mean, I cannot tell you how many hours upon hours that we would spend over at his house. We're all, like, in his living room. Like, his parents would have to kick us out of the house and be like, listen, you guys need to go outside and get some fresh air. Because we would just spend so much time playing this game.
And Pasty White David's like, no, the sun, it burns.
Yeah, I was like, that's the reason why I stay inside, because I've got this weird skin color, and it's like, it just literally burns anytime any sort of vitamin D hits it. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just like, we would just spend hours and hours playing this, and we were trying to, like, figure out, like, okay, you know, what's the best route to take? What are the best guns? You know, like, we really dug into the economy and, you know, trying to figure out the best mechanics and everything to use when playing it. And it was just, it was a small map, you know, because I think it was like the very first one where it had, like, it was like a broken down bunker almost that you were in, and it had like another story above it, and like the stairs or whatever, like, kind of curled upward, and there was like a couch blocking it that you had to spend a certain amount of credits to unlock. And so yeah, I mean, that's as far as World at War goes, that's probably my fondest memory, is just playing a ton of zombies with my friends. But yeah, you just as a side note, you definitely need to at least spend a little bit of time playing some of the Modern Warfare games, because those have a really good storyline, like really good. And
yeah, you know, I think as far as I ever got is, I think I did have a friend, and, you know, that all the Call of Duty games at some point start to blur together a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he had I played one of the Modern Warfares with him, but, you know, it was just the multiplayer, and I don't remember. I just can't remember much about it, but I think I did have a little bit of experience with it. I definitely remember enjoying it, but then again, you enjoy most games that you play with your friends, especially, and, you know, I was pretty young, so I never that was long before I started looking at games in a more critical and objective standpoint, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think I have had Modern Warfare experience. It's just hard to place.
Now, I will say too, in kind of keeping with the first person shooter Call of Duty memories here, one for me is Black Ops 2.
Oh, the whole Black Ops series, excluding 3. So the first two is really
was
good.
Brutal. Well, for me, okay, so for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure I don't think I've really gone into too much detail even talking to people on the site about this. So I have had like many surgeries regarding like bladder and kidney stuff. And it was, God, I think, when did that game come out? I think this was when I was just graduating high school, which says a lot about how old I am. So I had graduated, and I had what they call a bowel obstruction, and I never got to walk the stage after graduating high school. Like, there was an after party at the University of Toledo, and there was, like, we were gonna like stay in our rec center, and our rec center is awesome. Like, it's got basketball court, rock wall, like arcade games, all this stuff, and I was not able to go because of the fact that I was in the hospital having surgery, and I was stuck there, like, in this bed while all my friends, you know, like, got to go off and do other things, and I'm like trying to recover from having the surgery, and I was so bored, and I was like, God, all I want right now is to just be able to play something, like just some game, just to get my mind off of just sitting here watching these TV ads on Wendy's when I can't eat anything because, like, I physically couldn't, like, they were waiting for my insides to heal up, so like all I could do was take this like little sponge and rub it across my lips to keep them from getting like super chapped. And my mom had asked me, she's like, you know, is there anything from home that I can grab for you, you know, to kind of help, you know, keep you occupied or whatever up here? And I said, yeah, can you bring my Xbox 360? And so she brought it up, and I only had like a couple games on there, like Hexic HD, and it had some other weird game. And I'm just like, okay, like these are fine, like this is cool. I have stuff that I can play right now. And my buddy Kenny decided that him and a couple of my other real close friends were going to come visit me at the hospital. And so when he came up, he had brought up a copy of Black Ops 2. And I was like, oh, dude, like, this just came out. Like, you don't have to, like, let me borrow this or anything. I was like, I'll eventually end up getting it. Just, I gotta wait till I get out of here. He goes, no. Like, this is your copy. I literally just picked this up from GameStop for you. Damn. And I was like, yeah, like, I was, like, super taken aback by this. I was like, you know, I get kind of all emotional, you know, like, somebody just went and did that for you. And I remember playing the ever-living shit out of that game. I beat the campaign, like, twice while I was in there because I had nothing else to do, you know. So I just played that constantly. And just, when I got home and I was able to actually just kind of recover, like, I wasn't able to do a whole lot of stuff, you know, because I had this giant incision on my stomach. And sat there and started playing the multiplayer online with people, and I just got really good at it. I actually joined like a clan or whatever, you know, and kind of started to do it a little bit competitively. I knew the maps inside and out. Like, that for me was just like the pinnacle of Call of Duty games. I was like, nothing can top this. I don't care. Any Modern Warfare game has nothing on this. You know, like, that for me is like the Call of Duty game. And when it came out as backwards compatibility for the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One, you bet your ass that I went and bought that game because I was like, I don't care how much it is. If it's another $60, I will pay it, but I want Black Ops 2. So that is my gaming memory as far as Call of Duty games.
Black Ops 2 is definitely one I've got to go back and play, especially since for some reason, I have a hard time remembering it because I liked the original Black Ops so much.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it kind of clouded me as I played the second one a little bit. Because I definitely, the whole psychological thriller that came with the original Black Ops was really, really good. And I actually, I think I still have a copy of my original for the 360, and I would bet money that Microsoft went ahead and made that backwards compatible, but I haven't tried it yet, and I probably should.
Probably should, because it's really good still. Like I don't have too many memories of the original Black Ops. I beat the story mode. I don't think I spent a whole lot of time on the multiplayer. So I mean, like the memories that I do have of that are kind of blurry. But I do remember it still being like a really good game. Like I thoroughly enjoyed playing the title.
Oh, you know what? I think the reason I don't remember the Black Ops 2 campaign very much is because I always loved that game for its multiplayer so much more.
Oh yeah.
I felt like that was the pinnacle of Call of Duty multiplayer was Black Ops 2.
Well, I mean, even as far as like Black Ops 4, when you look and you play Blackout, there are maps like Raid that were from Black Ops 2. You know, there are other maps that they have brought back from Black Ops 2 days, and it's like, that's how good those games were. Like, and those maps were so good. Like, I never had any issues with, you know, at least that I can remember, of having, you know, problems with the maps, of how they flowed. Like, they were just really, really good Call of Duty maps. And so, like I said, when I sit back, if I had to sit back and rate Call of Duty games, that would still probably be the top for me, just because of how much time I spent with that. So
I think Black Ops 2, something with their maps is that in that particular one, in every map you just couldn't quite play the same way in every map, which is what you want. Every single time you had to alter your strategy based on what kind of player you are, and then the map and environment and stuff like that. But the environments always made sense. You always felt like, you know, maybe it's not, maybe as far as realism goes, it's just not, but that's okay. Because for Call of Duty purposes, it was perfect.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it's, you know, again, that was the time when I was actually getting into the competitive scene, you know, and I know a lot of, you know, if you were to talk to my brother, you know, he knows the lanes and everything and all the competitiveness of this Call of Duty and even some prior ones. But for me, it was like, this was the first time I actually spent time, you know, figuring out, okay, where are the lanes, you know, for each of these maps, what's the best way to get from point A to point B, you know. And it was just like I literally just delve into the detail and, you know, the core gameplay of it, trying to figure things out. And you're sitting back going, okay, what's the best weapons, you know, in the game, what's the best attachments to run when you're playing with this, you know, where are the best sniping spots in each map, and, you know, if we flip the spawns, you know, where they're spawning at. And all, it was just super detailed into, like, how to play the game. And that was the first one that I actually got that into, to the point where I was getting to understand those. So, but I'm going to switch things up here real quick. Did you ever play any of the Halo games?
You know, Halo was never one that I got super into, although I hear they're all pretty great for the most part. But the best I have is, again, kind of like Modern Warfare, is I do have a lot of memories of going to friends' houses, and a lot of my friends had Halo of some kind, some Halo game, and playing multiplayer with your friends on that game, even though Halo isn't something I have particularly super great or fond memories of, it is something that you just can't go wrong when you're playing with your friends on Halo. It's so much fun.
Oh, it is a blast. And So, like, and I'll try to make this short because I know I could sit back and talk about Halo all day. Like, I am a huge, huge Halo fan. Like, I've read the book. There's books, but I've read one of the books, and I've got some action figures and, you know, some stuff. So, like, I'm pretty big, and I've played every single game from Halo 1 to Reach and ODST, and I've played Halo 5, as painful as that storyline was. That was bad. That was probably the worst storyline for single player of the Halo games that I've played, and I'm kind of upset by it. But I'll get into that here in a second. So, for me, the game that I remember most about was, well, Halo 1, my buddy Ryan actually showed me. He had it for the PC and, you know, had it on a disc or whatever, and this was, like, way back before you had, like, gaming PCs that were, like, these huge rigs that they are nowadays. But he was showing me on his PC, he's like, oh, dude, this game's super cool. It's this first-person shooter. It's kind of fast-paced, you know, and you're going around, you're shooting these aliens, and there's, like, blue blood and everything. I'm like, oh, my God, this is so cool. And I remember talking to my parents about it, and they were like, is there any gore? And I'm like, well, yeah, there's blood. There's guys, you know, like, screaming when they're getting shot. They're like, well, you're not playing that game. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. So I asked my buddy if I could borrow his copy of the game, and he said, yeah. And I said, okay. So I grabbed it, brought it home, installed it, and then showed my parents. And my dad was like, kind of, you know, a little curious about the game, but he was just kind of like, okay, this isn't quite as bad as I thought. Like, you're not shooting people like you would be in, like, a Call of Duty game. You're shooting aliens. You know, it's not red blood, it's blue. So it's very fictionalized, you know, to a point where it's not very realistic.
It's almost cartoony gore in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why, like, after I showed him that, he was okay with me playing this. But he was just like, you know, like, just kind of keep it to a minimum, like, of how much that you play this, because it was still the violence factor that I don't think he really wanted me to be, you know,
and I'm sure you kept it to the minimum, the bare minimum.
The bare minimum.
You know,
because the computer...
5 hours a day, whatever, you know. Maybe an 8-hour day here or there.
Well, and I had to, because when this game came out, like, my parents had the computer in their bedroom. So it was like I couldn't just walk in there anytime I wanted to and play this game. I was like, I had to ask them, and they had to, you know, give me permission. And they'd be like, all right, well, you can be in there for, you know, an hour. And I'm like, okay, you know, and I'd be in there for like 2, and then I'd have, you know, they'd be yelling at me to get off the PC and everything. And so that was like my first, like, kind of, you know, being, God, my brain is like not working today. Exposed, that's what I wanted to look for. Like, being exposed to this franchise, I was like, oh my God, this game is fantastic. And then if you fast forward a couple years, when Halo 2 dropped for the Xbox, well, I didn't know what an Xbox was. I was a PlayStation fanboy pretty much from the word go, along with Nintendo, because I had a Nintendo 64. And then the PlayStation 2 came out, and I was like, oh, I gotta get a PlayStation 2. So I sold, as a very stupid, ignorant child, I sold my N64 with all my games. If I knew then what I know now, I would have kicked myself, because I should never sell those. But I ended up, you know, doing that to get the PlayStation 2. Well, my buddy Andrew, he had all 3 consoles. He had the GameCube, he had the PlayStation 2, and he ended up getting the Xbox. So I went and stayed the night over at his house one weekend, and he's like, dude, have you heard of Halo 2? And I'm like, I've heard of Halo, but what is this Halo 2 you speak of? I've never been more obsessed, I think, outside of Black Ops 2, which was obviously later on, been more obsessed with a first-person shooter than I was with Halo 2. When I tell you that I have probably put more time into that, or about the equivalent, as I did with like Rocket League and everything. Like, I'm being completely honest. This is not an exaggeration. I literally beat the campaign on easy, normal, heroic, and legendary. I played the hell out of the multiplayer with friends. We didn't really it was kind of the early stages of Xbox Live, so it wasn't like the greatest. A lot of it, and this is again dating myself, we would use link cables. So it was like an Ethernet cable that you plugged in between the two consoles and played that way.
Okay, I was gonna. Thanks for explaining, because I was gonna say you just stopped speaking English for a second.
Yeah, this was the day that if you wanted to play a game with somebody, you actually had to take an Ethernet cable and put it in both the network ports in the back of the console to connect them locally. And you created like a little bit of like a local area network, or doing that. And then it got really fancy when you would, if you wanted more than one console, you would actually take like a router or a switch or something and connect like, multiple things and play. It was just, it got really crazy. And that was kind of like, my introduction to computers a little bit, but no. So, and like me and my buddy Andrew, like we were obsessed with this game. So much to a point where we would try to figure out, we would spend hours at night trying to figure these out, where like the super jump glitches were in each map, because I believe there was at least like one or two in every map. And we played Zanzibar. We figured out how to get on top of the giant wheel. We figured out how to get on top of the building where there was only really one area on the map that you could get like sniped from. And even at that, like if somebody were to see you over in this like little tiny corner, they could just see like a sliver of your head. So it was literally headshots that you were getting if you found me. But it was like trying to figure out like where these super jumps was just fantastic. But I mean, like I said, we played the living shit out of this game. I mean, we went and found like all of the hidden skulls, like just, I mean, everything and anything that you can do to play that game, like we did. We found secret passageways and like, for those of you that don't know how to go, and find like the T-Rex, like hidden thing with the alien sword in, the second level or whatever, which I can't even think of the name of it right now off the top of my head because it's been so long since I've played Halo, but yeah, just like a lot of fun, like just playing with friends, and everything. And then it even transitioned up into when the Xbox 360 came out, and again, I sold my original Xbox with all of my games except for Halo 2, because I heard that Xbox 360 was going to be backwards compatible, and got that, and ended up getting Halo 3, and I loved the campaign for that. But my big thing with that was when multiplayer came around, and that was when Xbox Live kind of took the jump, was more of a prominent thing than it was with the Xbox One, or the OG Xbox, and I got really competitive with Halo 3 and actually joined a clan, and I was playing with people on the regular and everything, and so it's just, all those games are just super duper fond memories for me. Like, I just look back on them and I'm just like, man, like, I love these games. And when I found out that they were releasing the Master Chief Collection for Xbox One, I jumped on that. I said, I will pre-order that. I don't care what it takes. I will play this game. And I went through, and like the graphics for Halo 2 were so much better, and I loved how you can kind of switch back and forth between the two, and it was just like super nostalgic for me to do that. So, but yeah.
Curiosity, if you had to guess,
Okay.
or maybe you like kind of know for sure because of the counters and stuff like that you get on PlayStation and especially Steam, but what have you spent the most time playing, do you think? What game?
Oh God. I mean, if I had to think of just like one game that I've spent a ton of time on, I mean, I don't know if much else right now is going to be able to top Rocket League. Like, to be totally honest with you, even when new games come out that I should be utterly obsessed with playing and just be playing in nothing but that. Like I said earlier, like I put like 20 hours into Pokemon. There's been probably a total of like 5 hours in between all of that I've still jumped on the PlayStation and played Rocket League. I own Rocket League for PlayStation 4. I own it for Xbox One. I own it for Nintendo Switch. I've put almost 100 hours into it on the Switch alone. I mean, and I've got probably a total of like a month's worth of time put into it on the PlayStation 4. I mean, I've been playing it since they gave it to you free on the PS Plus 3 years ago. So, I mean, I've been playing this game every single day at least for 3 years.
Man, mad respect.
It's one of those games that the mechanic, or like the object of the game is you get the ball into the goal. Very easy concept. But when you think of the millions of different ways that you can get the ball into the goal and different stuff that can happen, I mean, it's a different game every single time you play it. And I love customization. Like I wish that more games had more customization options. Call of Duty being one of those. Like I just wish that there was more stuff. But I mean, Rocket League has trillions of combinations of cars to decals to, I mean, just anything and everything that you could think of that you would want to customize, they can do. They've got rocket trails. They've got, like, if you hit supersonic speed, there's like a trail that comes from your wheels that you'll see that you can get different designs for. They've got goal explosions. They've got different car sounds. They've got just everything. And it's just, the game's just gotten better more and more and more as time has gone on. And it's probably my favorite game of all time. I can't think of any other game that I would rather play than that. Like if somebody said if you had to be stuck on an island with one game, it would be Rocket League, just because as long as I had internet connection, because if I didn't, that game would probably lose its interest on me real quick. What about you? If you had to like pick like one game that you've spent the most amount of time with, what would it be?
Well, again, there's kind of a generational gap. I don't have a whole lot of gaming memories when that aren't accounted for in some way with an hour clock. Mm-hmm. But so it's probably going to be, I have maybe 470 odd hours or so of Gary's Mod.
Okay.
That is definitely not my favorite game, but it's definitely the game that I have a ton of really fond memories. I wanted to leave it out of the conversation a little bit when we started this, just because it's not really like a nostalgia thing. That's a game that's still very much like happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know. I guess I would say maybe it's not in its heyday right now, like it has been in the past, but it's definitely still relevant. But
I've never played it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard about it, but it's just, I mean, like I said, if I had to sit back and, you know, there's a couple gaming series that I've skipped out on because it was like other things kind of came around, or I was really interested in one thing when that came out, and so that's just kind of clumped in with the rest of them. Like I've never been like big into Grand Theft Auto. Like actually Red Dead 2 is the first like Rockstar game outside of Midnight Club 2 that I've really played like a ton of. So like Grand Theft Auto 5 never really played. I played like maybe an hour of the start, and that's it.
This is gonna trail off real quick into like a very childish and very very, very weird view. Like, but okay, I still live at home with my mom.
Yeah.
But I've completed the Grand Theft Auto campaign. I clocked plenty of hours on its multiplayer. I loved to invite friends over and just drive around and get as many stars as we could for absolutely no reason. Like, I've done all of that stuff, and then one day, just one day, my mom says, "Oh yeah, you're not playing that anymore." And I have to respect her wishes because, damn it, I'm still here.
Yeah, that's the most painful. And I know because I still have to live at home too, so it's definitely the struggle. There's been times where like I'll be in my room and I'm just like getting super frustrated with Rocket League or something, because I mean, for as much as I love the game, it's still super duper frustrating. There's times where I will rage quit that game because I'll get a teammate that while even playing the competitive playlists, I'm still getting somebody who doesn't know how to play the game. And is, like they're like in the ranking that I'm in, like I would assume that you had like aerial shots pretty well down. Like I'm not saying you're gonna whiff every single one, but you should be hitting at least 80% of them. And I've got guys missing every single time, and I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? And so I'm just down in my room just cussing the hell out of this thing. And I've had my dad come down here. He goes, "If I hear that one word come out of your mouth one more time, I'm turning the power off to your room." And I'm like, "You do that and I will leave immediately." Like, we will fight.
All right, Pops, outside. Let's go.
Yeah, like, put your dukes up. So.
But, anyway, yeah, Gary's Mod... I guess the majority of my hours I put into Gary's Mod were when I was I found I don't want to say job because it wasn't paying or anything at all like that, but I found a position, I should say, as a moderator on one of the Trouble in Terrorist Town servers, and man, I met some really interesting people.
Like, but, interesting in a good way or interesting in a bad way?
Well, that's why I said interesting, because the thing is that it's a little bit of both. Because and it's not like, oh, they were all kind of nice but kind of dicks, but it was more like either they were nice or they were the biggest jackasses on the planet. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? And these weren't people who were coming into the server. These are people that were other moderators, higher ups, like administrators of the server and stuff like that. And it was a really popular server for, over here in the Western United States where I live.
Yeah.
But so it took quite a few people to keep it running all the time. At any given moment, there was probably at least one senior administrator on, which there were a lot of different levels, of course, of administrator and moderator. You could be a junior administrator, senior administrator, a regular mod. You could be a mod in training. You could be there were two founders of the thing who, whenever they came on, they just ruined everyone's fun. But I don't know. So I clocked a lot of hours. Every day I'd come home and I'd be excited about getting on and playing that. I've tried to get back onto it and play it some more, but I don't know. I think I just outgrew it a little bit, and also my friends don't play it as much anymore, so that always takes away a little bit of the fun. But definitely have the most hours on there, and then close second is definitely Paladins. I think I have close to 200 on there.
That's a really good game too. Like, for as much of an Overwatch clone as it is, it's still really good. No, I mean, because I've played both, and I there are things that I like about with Overwatch, that I think are like really special. Like, I really do enjoy that game. I think it's, as far as teamwork and team-based and everything, like, I think it is actually really good. And I've played a lot of Paladins on the Switch, and I really do enjoy that game. Like, there's like the one character, and I couldn't tell you who he is, and maybe you can tell me. He's got like this weird like circular globe thing that circles on his like rifle, and he's got like white hair, and he's
Genos.
Yeah, that guy is fantastic because he can heal people, but if you get like the certain like mod or whatever on him where his rifle doesn't like shoot quite as fast, it's kind of like pew pew pew, deals heavy damage. Like, I'm hitting dudes dealing like 35 to 40, hit points per shot, and that's just body shots. That's not even including headshots. And I mean, I've mowed people down. I've gone like 35 and, or 27, like, and died like a handful of times. Like, the guy's just really good. So he's kind of my go-to. But I appreciate both games for what they are. It's kind of like Call of Duty and Battlefield. Like, they're both generally the same. They're both war-type shooter games that have phenomenal-looking graphics. And they both play a little differently, but for the main point, like, they're pretty similar. But I appreciate each one of them for what they are.
Honestly, I feel like I pretend to get a little hurt, like, oh, it's not an Overwatch clone, but I mean it really doesn't matter to me because I'm a firm believer that really, when it comes down to it, whatever you start playing first, that's just gonna be the one you go with.
Oh, yeah.
I've played a majority. Well, maybe not a majority because I haven't played a lot of the earlier ones, but I've definitely played my fair share of Call of Duty games, and I don't think I've ever even touched a Battlefield game before. And that's just because Call of Duty's the one that I grew up with, and it's like, oh well, if I like Call of Duty, why am I going to go and spend $60 for different Call of Duty, basically?
I will tell you the reason why I think, or that I like Battlefield that Call of Duty doesn't do, is I feel like Battlefield is a more tactical shooter. And Call of Duty's kind of started entering that realm. Like, I don't really think they ever had like bullet drop in any of their games because their maps have always been so like congested that it was a very like close-up first-person in-your-face shooter, whereas Battlefield, like if you were playing Conquest or even Team Deathmatch, like their maps were just overall bigger, but it worked for them because they offered more players, going at each other. It wasn't like a, 5v5. It was like a 8v8 or a 16v16 or something, going at each other. So you had to have these huge maps to accommodate all these players. And like the bullet drop, and you could hear like the sound. And I feel like the sound effects too were just overall better. Just like, like the ambiance or anything. Like you could hear bullets whistling past your head, and it just had a more realistic feel to it than Call of Duty. Because let's be honest, even in realistic or recent years and everything, like Call of Duty has gone from being like the World War II shooter from back in the day, and then it went into like the Black Ops series, which was kind of futuristic. There, we don't have drones that can shoot people or UAVs or anything, and then you get into like the advanced movement systems that they had. So it's like it kind of had a little bit of a futuristic fiction vibe to it, whereas Battlefield has pretty much always stayed very close to historical, accuracy as far as like their battle sites and what's been going on. Like Battlefield 1 was based around World War One, so a lot of their guns were World War One based. And then this new one, Battlefield 5, is very World War II based, so they're kind of going back to their roots. Like they never have gone really into some weird futuristic, at least not that I can remember. I'm sure there's some games that are further back in time that may have done that, but just the more recent ones like Battlefield 3 and 4, like those were very modern warfare type games. They didn't have some crazy stuff that was going on. So
Yeah, the Call of Duty series definitely has trailed off into kind of a more like, okay, we've explored what history has kind of been like, and we've explored kind of like, I guess you could say a little, I don't want to say modern, because they've definitely done their fair share of history.
Oh, yeah.
And so they decided, you know what, we're going to start going into what could be in the future, the type of weaponry, the type of battle scenes and stuff like that we see. Which overall, I think it hurt the series. I don't think they've done a great job with that. But yeah, I get what you're saying about them being different on those, in those aspects. Like, instead of, because Battlefield, again, I haven't really touched a Battlefield game, but like a lot of games I haven't touched, I've seen plenty of gameplay of it and stuff, and it does have more of a just some of the simpler stuff, like, you know, how many in recent Call of Duty games, how many body shots does it take to take down an enemy in Call of Duty, and how many body shots does it take in Battlefield 5? You know, you get, yeah, there's no happy medium.
No, it's like Call of Duty. It's like, you know, you're maybe, you know, and obviously it depends on if he's picked up armor or whatever, you know, or if he's got a certain perk to him. But yeah, you're getting to the 5 and 6 shot, you know, maybe 7 depending on where you're hitting them range, and then in Battlefield it's like 2 or 3. Like, it's minimal. I feel like it takes less time to kill somebody in Battlefield than it does in Call of Duty.
You definitely have to be a lot more careful and cautious. Like, and I think you were even saying it's more tactical. You really, you really have to think. In Call of Duty, it's just kind of, I know I'm starting to just kind of repeat what you said, but very in your face, like you were saying. So you don't feel the need to, like, move around, find the right spots, find the right areas to take out a sniper and see who you can pick off or anything like that. It's just kind of, all right, 2 teams, let's run at each other and see what the fuck happens with this.
Oh yeah, it's exactly what happens. And I mean, and I'm sure somebody who is a huge Call of Duty fanatic will end up, you know, disliking what we're saying or whatever, and that's fine. Like, that's, I mean, I've played enough Call of Duty.
None of this is in like a negative way. This is just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, in minus Ghost, it's just Call of Duty was just more of an in-your-face shooter, whereas Battlefield was more like you could get away with kind of camping, you know, in a way, you know, like with Call of Duty, I get pissed off when people camp, because it's like, dude, these maps are so small, like, you're supposed to be running around. You know, you're supposed to be running and gunning. Like, that is the whole basis of Call of Duty. You're not supposed to sit back, you know, and shoot. I mean, even people with snipers are running around quick-scoping people. So it's just like, there's no real, you know, explanation for it. So,
yeah.
But what I think we need to do is transition to, like, maybe we'll, because we're hitting an hour here, maybe pick, like, 1 or 2 games that have either been, you know, given a release date for the upcoming year, or even just, you know, in the next couple weeks, because I know we got Smash Brothers coming out, so I didn't know if that's something that you are looking forward to or not. But pick a game or games that have already been, like, talked about and announced, like, we know for a fact that these are in development that you're, like, looking forward to. And I'll let you start, because I feel like I've been talking a ton this podcast.
Well, with 2 people, you know.
Yeah.
But I've got a whole list of things that are definitely in development. If I wanted to go into specifically things that are coming out next year, that have been given next year release dates or time frames, if you will. One thing I'm definitely excited about is Days Gone looks really interesting. it looks like I'm worried about it being open world, because that's kind of what State of Decay tried to do, and I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't really enjoy that very much. But it looks it was something that a lot of zombie games like State of Decay fail to do, is it fails to have stakes. I feel like you run around, you're gunning down zombies, but there's very little actual stakes in what you're doing. I don't think I've died a single time in State of Decay. There's just no heightened adrenaline or anything. Like 2.
Oh, because see, I am going to disagree with you in a hot minute. Because I've already lost 2 main characters in State of Decay 2, and I mean, I kind of did it to myself. I should have probably brought more people or heavier stuff, or just got the hell out of there. But yeah, like I lost one main character with another because I brought somebody with me to go check out like one of the plague hearts or whatever, and a ton of zombies came out at me, killed both of us, and I was like, I'm done playing this game. And I have not picked it back up since, because I was just so upset at the fact that I lost 2 main crucial people. I was like, nope, I'm done.
That's exactly what happened to me with This War of Mine.
Mm-hmm.
You ever pick that one up?
I've seen stuff about it, and I know like what game you're talking about when you say that, but I've never actually played it myself. I know.
No.
Just send all your hate email to David Fraley.
No, that's a little more of an obscure one, if you will. But a similar thing happened to me with that one. But anyway, the Days Gone, I guess I was expecting a little more story in State of Decay 2. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention to what State of Decay 1 was, but it really ended up being a little more of a survival thing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely what it is.
Than I thought it would be. So I'm really hoping Days Gone quenches my thirst for kind of like a really good story in a zombie game. That's what I'm hoping.
And I think it will. I don't think they'll disappoint you. I mean, look at all of the other Sony first party games that have come out. I mean, you've got Spider-Man and you've got God of War. Both of those have been pushing 10s, you know.
We could go on for days about the juggernaut that Sony has become.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, so I have high hopes for Days Gone. Like, even stuff that I've seen, it looks like it's really good. So I mean, I am definitely excited for it as well.
And then I'm also excited for Anthem. Anthem, I'm really hoping that BioWare reclaims kind of what it's been known for, which is quality storytelling and above all else, character interaction. I know it's going to be a little closer to Destiny, where you're like playing with others kind of, but I'm still really hoping that you get the story in there that BioWare's known for. I know Mass Effect Andromeda was a disaster, but I always like to go back to, Mass Effect Andromeda didn't go so well, but it was made by a branch of the studio that had never made a full game before. I mean, there were all kinds of things that were stacked up against this game from the very beginning of development. And now that we're back to the BioWare that we all know and love, I'm really, really excited to play it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That was actually going to be one of my things. I am really looking forward to Anthem. I know from a lot of the screenshots and the gameplay that they have shown off, it does look very Destiny-esque. But I think with the different javelins or whatever that they're called that you can use. I think it kind of changes the gameplay up a little bit. Even more so than with Destiny, because with Destiny it was like, okay, well, yeah, you can be the Warlock or you can be a Titan or, whatever, but they're typically the same characters. Like, the movement's a little different and their special abilities might be slightly different, but it's still a first-person shooter that you're using the same weapons and the same, you guys can all throw grenades. They pretty much all do the same thing. Like, it's just a first-person shooter game, which, don't get me wrong, fantastic. Like, I still love Destiny. There's some things that they've done recently that I am not a fan of, and that's a different story on a different podcast. But I think with the different javelins, they really kind of made them each very distinct and unique in how they handle and what they're able to do. Like, there's ones where it's like, he has a heavy gun and he has tons of armor, so he's kind of your tanky character that's going to be able to run in and cause a ton of damage, and not really die. And then you've got other characters that can sit back and snipe, but those are specific to each of these javelins, and if you're kind of somebody that wants to do a little bit of both, have more armor than somebody who would rather just sit back and snipe, but maybe not do quite as much damage, just kind of be well-rounded, they've got a javelin for them. There's like 4 different javelins that you can choose. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm very curious to see what they do with it. I'm sure we're going to hear more about that in the coming months, because even though they talked a lot about it in prior months, it was like since E3, they kind of haven't said anything. And I kind of want to hear just like a little bit more. Like, there's just some things that I just don't know about. So,
yeah. I think especially what you were saying with like the classes, I think that's going to be good. The kind of RPG-ishness of it is going to be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. They've kind of gone quiet. I think I've signed up to get a newsletter about the game twice, because I signed up the first time when I heard it was coming out, and then I just never heard a lot about it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, since E3, and so I was like, okay, let me make sure. And
I'm still getting
heard
these.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, and I'm not like bashing the studio for going kind of radio silent. Like, in some instances, I think that is something that is needed. When you come out and you're like, hey, these are our javelins, this is what they do, this is the main hub area that you can be in, this is kind of what the game is, it's a third-person shooter, it's an open world, it's all this other stuff. When you release all that type of information, then it's kind of like, okay, we need to go radio silent. You guys know about the game, you guys know when it's releasing, we need to finish this game. We need to make sure that this is as polished, as bugless, as tight combat and everything, that we need to make sure that when this game releases that there are no issues. And in ways, I'm glad that they went radio silent so that they can really hunker down and focus on this game and bring BioWare kind of back up from where Andromeda dropped them. Because I played a little bit of Andromeda, and again, one of the series that I just kind of skipped out on. I've never played a Mass Effect game. So, again, send your hate mail to David Fraley.
I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
It's okay. Like, I'm not excited for Kingdom Hearts 3 either, because I've never played it. I have all 6 games in the little HD bonus pack or whatever, and I've tried playing the first one. I don't know if, when we were younger, on the PlayStation 2 and everything, if we were just ballers at games or whatever, but that game's hard as hell. Like, I have never used YouTube, and my friend, who's beaten all 6 games more in my life than I have when I played that. Like, I'm still stuck in the Tarzan world, which is like the second or third world that you go into. Like, I can't beat the last boss because of this giant freaking chameleon that is, I don't know, it's just a giant thorn in my side, and it just irritates me. But, and the other thing that I'm really excited about for Anthem is, I think, with the fact of them having different javelins, like, it's really gonna kind of, influence and encourage team play, because you're going to have to come up with like different strategies. Like, okay, well, if we've got 3 guys, okay, well, what javelins should we use for this, one? What different weapons or whatever should we be using for this next fight, or whatever? Like, I think it's going to kind of, really influence that, because you're going to want somebody who's maybe good with a tighter, the bulkier, tankier character to run in there. If somebody's not quite as good with it, okay, well, you need to pick a different javelin because you're going to make us lose, Mm-hmm. The other game that I am excited for is Death Stranding.
We know like nothing about that, man.
That is what intrigues me about it. Like, we know this game's in development. They have shown so much about it. And the fact that they have shown so much and we still don't know what this is. And every trailer, now mind you, like, we've seen trailers for this for the past, 3 years. And every year it's a lengthy, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-minute trailer or whatever. And every time I'm just left with more questions. The main one is, what the hell is this game? Like, I am just thoroughly enthralled by the mystery that surrounds this title. Every time I watch it, I literally just sit back and go, oh my god, dude, like, I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. Like, I really just can't. I've never played a Metal Gear Solid. Again, send your emails. And so I don't really know what, Hideo Kojima is, capable of. But, man, seeing this game, there's so much that I don't understand about it. And I'm just I don't know. I'm just super duper psyched for it. And there's very few games that I get like that with. There's very, very few that I am just I sit back and I go, you know what? This is gonna be a good game. Like, this, there's something special about this game. And there's been a couple that, and just real quick off the top of my head, that I've never played the series or whatever before it, but then I jumped in and played this and I was like, what is this? One of them is Rocket League, and you see how big of a phenomena that is. I never played Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars, which, yes, I can't believe I literally just said that in one go and didn't screw it up. Because that is a very hard thing to say, and it took me a week to get that right. That was their first entry, and I had never played it, never heard about it, nothing until Rocket League came out. And then Rocket League comes out, and bam, I've lost my mind. The other one being The Witcher 3. I saw previews and everything for that game, and I was like, that is a game I will pre-order, I will pick it up on day one, and I will play the ever-living out of it. And I got a strategy guide for it. I got the deluxe edition. I pre-ordered the DLC. I was like, I am going all in on this game. I've never played a Witcher game before this, but this just looks really special to me. And it's one of the best RPG games out there. Plain and simple. I have a weird knack for every once in a while I pick a game and I'm like, that's going to be really good. And I'm usually pretty spot on with them. So this is one of those games, mark my words. You guys can, go back and listen to this after it releases and tell me if I was right. This is one of those games where I'm really thinking it's going to be really special. So
yeah, and I totally get what you're saying. It's hard to pick it out. Usually if I'm looking at a movie trailer, I don't think I pride myself on never having not ever having disliked a movie that I went to based on the trailer. I've gone to movies I didn't like because a friend wanted to go, or because it was a summer camp thing, when I was 6 or something. But it's harder with video games to do that with the trailers because everything. Because here's the thing with video games that movies can't do. Movies have to take the scenes in the movie and make it into an interesting trailer. Games can go outside of that. You can have a trailer entirely tailored towards marketing and making it look as cool as possible, even though the actual product isn't quite that.
Oh, yeah.
And
the thing is, too, is, with movies, when you're making that trailer, you have to make sure that you're giving enough of the footage and everything to make it seem interesting, but not enough to give it away. And I know a lot of trailers have had issues doing that, where they'll give away like all of the best scenes in the movie, and then you're watching the movie and you're like, I feel like I watched it like a couple weeks ago when they showed me the trailer for it. Like, this movie sucks because I've already seen it, you know?
Yeah, it's harder to do that with video games. So I definitely get what you're saying. Like, it's very rare where you see gameplay footage, like, or like just snippets of a game before it's released, and you're able to say that is going to be good.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I'm going to say real quick, because I know this is surprisingly, for 2 people, we've managed to keep it going for about the same amount of time as we would if we had 3.
Yeah.
But real quick, another game that's on my radar, and it should be on everybody's radar, is Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm going to end it with that.
All right. I want to end it by I want to quickly rattle off. I don't want to talk about it or anything. I'm just going to rattle off some other games that I'm excited for. Crackdown 3 is coming out in February, or at least it's supposed to. In the Valley of Gods, which is the same people, Campo Santo, they made Firewatch. So if you liked that and the characters in that, I think that's going to be really good. By the way, these are all 2019 release dates in no particular order. We don't have a release date, but we do have a 2019 frame for that. Twin Mirror, which is Don't Nod, which they've been crazy busy with. Vampire, Life is Strange 2, The Amazing Adventures of Captain Spirit, and now Twin Mirror. They've been really busy. That's coming out next year. So if you like Don't Nod stories, definitely check that one out. Sea of Solitude is one that I put on the review request list. I'm really hoping to get that one. That's coming out Q1, Q2 of 2019. Dying Light 2 is supposed to come out next year. I have a feeling that's going to be delayed. Control, which has a really cool gameplay premise that I'm still not even certain what it is, but it looks really cool based on the trailer. Trover saves
that.
Yeah, Trover Saves the Universe. That's by the Justin Roiland, same guy that's half responsible for Rick and Morty. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is coming out on December 7th, coming up here soon.
Good man.
And now some indie titles that I recommend you check out. My Friend Pedro looks really cool. You just run around with 2 pistols and you just shoot a bunch of guys off of frying pans. It's really awesome. Family Man, which is like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. You go in and you choose what you want to do because you owe some debt to these people and you have to make money, but you have to care for your family. It's kind of a cool premise. 3 Minutes to Midnight is kind of like a whodunit type thing. And then Grease, as in the GRIS, Grease, is coming out on December 13th. That looks really cool. It's really more of a graphical and visual masterpiece than anything else, but it's really beautiful. You should take a look at that when it's on Steam. But anyway, that's kind of my list.
Yeah, you pretty much rattled off some of the other ones that I was thinking about too. So
yeah, and that's not even all of them, because there are plenty of to be announced release dates. That was just 2019, and kind of like games we have an idea of when they're coming out.
Yeah, I was like, there's plenty of other titles that have, like we've seen the title, we know they're working on, but there's literally no window frame or anything for when these are coming out. Like, it's just, they just kind of came out and said, hey, we're making this. Just this is on our radar.
Yeah, and these are kind of like Last of Us Part 2, Borderlands 3, Elder Scrolls 6, like those kinds of games. We don't know when those are coming out exactly yet. But anyway, so that I think that pretty much wraps it up. Unless you've got anything extra to add, David.
Nope, I think we've covered everything.
All right, you want to plug anything besides your email?
I never even gave like the full email. I was just like David Fraley at blah blah. No, definitely. You know, I know we say this every time, but we do want to keep stressing to go to the site. The news has been a little dry as of late, so our news people haven't, you know, had a whole lot to post, but we've definitely been keeping up with some of the reviews and everything else that we're putting on the site. So definitely go and check that out at sitcritic.com. Tons of super talented people there that spend a lot of hours of their free time and hard work and everything putting stuff together for you guys to read. So definitely check that out. And then if you guys want to, you're more than welcome to follow our Twitter account at sitcritic. And then if the spirit moves you, you are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter at David Fraley, all lowercase 27.
All right. I try not to plug my Twitter just because I don't do anything on it really. I use it mostly for news and stuff, but I'll just end by saying please, and I tried to stress this last week too, but please comment. We want to know what you guys are enjoying. You know, we're all just nerds here that love playing video games, but at the end of the day, if you guys aren't enjoying it, then we've got to change something. So let us know what you think.
How can we make this better?
Yeah, the list probably goes on.
It probably does, but we haven't seen a list yet. So unless you guys know what we need to change, you guys get to keep seeing this garbage truck on fire every single week.
Which we can definitely produce plenty of.
Yes, we can. So, but
all right.
I think that that'll close this one out. We'll put this there's another good one for the books, I think.
Oh, definitely.
So, with that, we are signing off, and we will talk to you guys all next week. Thanks for listening in, and stay sick, guys.